What will you sacrifice to gain wealth? Oba's choice changed his life forever, but at a devastating cost. In a small quiet town beside the tall mountains lived a fisherman named Oba. Oba was a kind man with a heart as warm as sunshine. He worked very hard every single day. From the first light of dawn, Oba would go down to the river, throwing his nets in hopes of catching fish to feed his family. His wife, Lami, was always by his side. After Oba caught the fish, Lami would sell them in the village market, smiling at everyone who came by her stall. Though they were poor and lived in a small old house, Oba and Lami were very happy. They had 3 lovely children who brought them joy every day. They didn't have toys or fancy clothes, but they had each other, and that made their hearts feel full. Oba would tell his children bedtime stories, and Lami would sing to them while they cooked. The family loved to laugh, and their little home was always filled with warmth. But as the years passed, Oba started to feel sad. His children were growing up, and their needs were growing too. He wanted to give them more, but he couldn't afford it. He saw the wealthier people in the village wearing beautiful clothes, riding fine cars, and living in big houses. The villagers, especially the rich ones, began looking down on Oba, making him feel small and unimportant. Every time Oba attended village gatherings, the rich villagers whispered and laughed behind his back. Some would ask him to clean up after them, saying, "Oh, Oba can take care of it." Oba's heart hurt each time he heard those words, but he tried to ignore them. He told himself that his worth wasn't in money, but in the love of his family. Yet, the hurtful whispers kept chipping away at his heart. He began to wonder, am I truly less than they are? Am I failing my family by being poor? One hot day, after working long hours in the field of a wealthy townsman named Sarki, Oba went to collect his payments. Sarki was known to be rich and powerful, and many people in the village were afraid of him. When Oba asked for his payment, Sarki looked at him with a sly smile and handed him only half of what he was promised. "Come back next week for the rest," Sarki said, turning away. Oba's heart sank, but he kept quiet and left. He needed that money to buy food, but he knew he had no choice but to wait. The following week, when Oba returned to collect the rest, Sarki greeted him with an unexpected offer. "Oba," Sarki began with a friendly tone that seemed too sweet to be true, "I see you work very hard, yet you remain poor. I know a way you can become rich and respected. If you want to live the life of struggle, I can show you how." Oba's heart beat fast. He wanted to give his family a better life, but he was also cautious. "What must I do?" he asked slowly. Sarki smiled, a smile that didn't quite reach his eyes. "No blood is required," he assured. "Just a small ritual. Do this and you will have more wealth than you ever dreamed." That night, Oba lay awake, tossing and turning. He had always been an honest man, but the promise of wealth was powerful. He thought of his children's faces and how happy they would be to live without worry. By morning, his mind was made up, and he decided to meet Sarki. The next night, Sarki led Oba deep into the dark forest. Oba's heart raced with fear, but he followed closely. Gripping his sack tightly, they reached a small clearing when an old healer awaited. The healer spoke in a strange language, and Oba felt chills as the ritual began. After the chants, the healer handed Oba a small bag filled with shiny stones. "Guide this well," the healer warned. "They hold the power to give you all that you desire." And just as Sarki had promised, Oba's life changed almost overnight. He bought new clothes, beautiful shoes, a big house with many rooms, and a piece of land by the river. Lami was amazed, and her children laughed with joy, playing with new toys. The villagers who once mocked Oba now praised him. Friends who had left him now returned, eager to be close to him again. But soon, Oba began to feel strange. Though he had wealth and admiration, he often felt washed, as if something was lurking in the shadows. His peaceful sleep was gone, replaced by dreams of dark forests and whispering spirits. Shadows danced at the edge of his vision, and he felt a constant chill. One night, as he lay in bed, he heard a rustling noise outside. His heart pounded, but when he looked, he saw nothing. The next morning, a messenger arrived, asking him to visit Sarki's house. With a feeling of dread, Oba obeyed. At Sarki's house, Sarki greeted him with an unsettling grin. "The time has come to complete your bargain," he said. Oba felt his blood run cold as Sarki continued. "The spirits that gave you wealth now demand a life in exchange, a life of someone dear to you. You must bury your eldest son in the forest." Oba stumbled back, horrified. "No!" he cried. "Not my son, not my Ugo." But Sarki's face showed no mercy. "If you refuse, your wealth will vanish, and a terrible curse will befall your family." For days, Oba was filled with agony. Every time he looked at Ugo, he felt as if a piece of his heart was breaking. Ugo was just a child, so full of life and love. The thought of harming him was unbearable. Yet, Oba was terrified of returning to poverty. He knew that he had fallen into a trap of his own making. Finally, in a moment of weakness, Oba missed a portion as Sarki had instructed. His hands shook as he prepared it, and tears streamed down his face. That night, he called Ugo to him, giving him the portion with a forced smile. Ugo trusted his father completely and drank it, soon falling into a deep sleep. Oba lifted his sleeping son in his arms, carrying him out into the dark forest. Every step felt like it was tearing his heart apart. When he reached the clearing, he began to dig a small grave, his tears falling onto the soil as he walked. But unknown to Oba, Lami had sensed something was wrong. She had seen the portion and felt a chill of fear in her heart. She followed Oba hidden in the shadow, and when she saw what he was doing, she let out a heart-wrenching scream. "Oba, stop!" she cried, running towards him. Oba froze, dropping his shovel as he turned to see his wife standing there, her face filled with horror. Villagers who heard Lami's cry gathered around, and upon learning what Oba had been about to do, they restrained him, demanding answers. Sobbing, Oba confessed everything: the deal with Sarki, the ritual, and the terrible demand for sacrifice. Gasps of shock rippled through the crowd. The village elders were called, and they listened with heavy hearts. The oldest elder, a wise woman named Nana, spoke slowly. "Oba," she said, her voice filled with sadness, "you allowed greed to darken your heart. Wealth gained through such means is a curse, not a blessing." As punishment, the elders decreed that Oba would be banished to live alone in the mountains far from his family and friends. They took back the enchanted stones and Oba's family returned to their humble life. Though they lost their riches, they had each other and Lami's strength kept them together. Years passed and Oba lived alone, tending a small garden on the mountainside. He thought every day about his choices, realizing he had traded his family's love for fleeting wealth. He missed his children terribly, but he knew he had to live with the consequences of his actions. In the village, Oba's story became a lesson each night. As the villagers gathered by the fire, the elders would tell the tale of Oba, the fisherman who lost his way. Nana will remind them true wealth lies in the love and honor of those who stand by us, not in gold or stones. And so Oba's family continued their simple life, finding joy in each other and in the lesson that Oba's story had taught them. Moral lesson: true wealth lies not in possessions or status, but in the love and integrity we hold for our family and community. Choosing greed over values can lead to deep regret and loss. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, share, most importantly, subscribe to my channel for more captivating story. Thank you for watching.